Kia ora, this is my whakāturanga about Te Ira Tangata 205. So for Tanga Pūoro, my pūoro was poi, and my whānga was, so kia mōhio ngā tamariki he taonga tuku iho te poi. So here I've got 3 anecdotal observations, so just to give you like a summary. For the first week, we did a poi activity, and for the first part it went really well. The tamariki were all engaged, but what made it difficult was when new tamariki came and joined the activity, they missed that tikanga kōrero, so they would come in and just hit each other with the poi, and they weren't really engaged. So that there's an anecdotal there for week tahi about that. In week 2, the second anecdotal is about again about tamariki like engaging in a poi activity and swinging their poi along to the waiata. And then for the third week, my anecdotal observation was in the morning, and it was about tamariki were doing a colouring in activity about tiniro and kai, so they were colouring in pictures. So those are what my 3 anecdotals about. So for my analysis, so for week 1, I've got kāre rātou te marama. So like I said, there were some tamariki that were engaged, but what made it difficult is when new tamariki came, it was hard to re-explain the tikanga to those new kids and also run the activity on my own. So on analysis and reflection, I've identified that the socio-culturalism wasn't very good because I didn't prepare, and like I prepared the activity, but I was jumping the gun in terms of not really working with my peers, like working with the other kaiko to explain what was going to happen, and if someone else could come. Well, I didn't know that I was going to need another teacher because at the time there were only a few tamariki, but then by the time other kids did come, on reflection, that it would have been good to have another kaiko so that if when those other kids did come, it was still
manageable.
Yeah, still manageable, and still constructive. So for week 2, I've got so kei te ako tonu. So upon the analysis from week 1, it was better for the second week because I communicated with my peers. Relating to social culturalism, I still used those cultural tools, the poi, and spoke with my colleagues to let them know this is what I'm going to do at Waiwhariki. I need you guys to tautoko me.
Awesome.
So all hands on deck basically. So in week 3, I've still got kei te ako tonu, and the reason why is because my whānga was, kia mōhio ngā tamariki he taonga tuku iho te poi. And I think in some ways that was met, but I still think with my activities they were too broad. There was too much for a 3-week time frame. So if I was to do it again, I would focus just on one activity. So just waiata or just karakia, instead of what, like I said, like you'll see in the anecdotals, there's 3 different, there's different activities. There's karakia, there's waiata, there's pūrākau, and they're doing it, they're involved, but they're not really learning.
Absorbing all the information.
They're not absorbing all the information. Like on the first day, those ones that were there did absorb the tikanga, but like I said, new people came in, so it wasn't really constructive. It was just...
You weren't building on the information?
Yeah, we weren't building on it. It was just a rush process. And in terms of like the theories, I'd probably use like the zone of proximal development. And like I said, just breaking it down and focusing on what they can do and going from there instead of boom, throwing all of this information at you.
Learn,
like, you know, we've got to learn all of these 5 things in 3 weeks.
In 3 weeks, So you might have refined your list of resources and only focused on one.
Yeah. I would have just focused on one waiata and, you know, still given them the tikanga talk, but, you know, my goal wouldn't have been, like, for them to know, you know,
so broad.
Just more realistic and achievable as well.
Okay. So you talked about proximal distance. Who's the theorist that speaks about that?
Vygotsky?
Yep.
Vygotsky's
proximal distance, yep. So that links to the process of understanding that you need to refine your information for tamariki to be able to absorb the information first before they can learn something else.
Yeah. And that's what I kind of mentioned in the slide there. I just kind of left the bullet points.
Yep. That's cool.
Yeah. So that's, and then I just got like then I just had a reference like talking about because I spoke about social culturalism as well, like just saying how social culturalism highlights that people, places and cultural tools are essential to tamariki's learning.
Great. So you feel like we've got the understanding of all the tools, just not the process of how to use the tools effectively yet.
So like with the people, like you know, and the places, like even, you know, maybe going, like if it was a rainy day or something, I think one of my anecdotes was on a rainy day, you know, because we've got like a back room, you know, maybe set up a quiet activity in there and, you know, take in a handful, so then we've got that place, you know, and it's, you know, instead of lots of kids still running around and stuff like that, and people just more communication with my peers and the kaiako, and just with obviously the cultural toys would be like the poi, and you know, talking to them about the tikanga first, you know, letting them.
So what's your stance on the activity as a whole? So you feel like you're still in the stage of Katie Akotonu after week 3?
Yeah.
You're still learning about, or you'd made the decision that your final was too broad? Yeah,
I've made this decision that I think it's too broad. But like, I think in some ways it was because it's only a few people, so I suppose I could say that, you know, like some people did, like it was achieved, that final was achieved with some of them.
Okay.
But, you know, like those ones that didn't come in, it wasn't achieved with them.
Okay.
Because obviously they weren't there from start.
So on analysis, do you feel like the ones that did achieve the goal had prior knowledge? Yeah. So that was built on from prior knowledge, or did they start as blank slates?
Nah, I think it was from prior knowledge, because you know, some of those tamariki that like they love kapaka and they watch kapaka, their parents are involved in kapaka, so like you said, it was building on their prior knowledge, you know, because they already knew what it was, and you know,
had an understanding of the tikanga.
Tikanga kōrero with them, they understood, because like I said, it wasn't new to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, for those ones that it was new to, probably pay a bit more attention and just focus on that tikanga and the waita instead of instead of doing tikanga and a pūrākau and like, you know, because it's only for 3
all
weeks,
those ideas.
I'd probably just say, you know, so they understand he taonga tuku o te poi and they manaki, or you know, they know to te aki the poi, or something, like, you know, something like that, instead of
have it be a more achievable goal.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. So your understanding of the theory surrounding social culturalism, you talked about your ability to be able to speak to your peers. On reflection in week 2, did you feel like that helped with your implementation of the program by extending that socio-culturalism?
Yeah, I feel like it helped heaps better, because, you know, the whole planning process was, you know, it was like I had more support. Like if new tamariki, like in week 1, if new tamariki were to come in and join the activity, it was okay, because I had that support, and the kaiako that were supporting, they could explain, like, you know, So then I could still focus on, like, you know, for example, like doing the waiata and singing with the tamariki, and the kaiako could say, oh hey, you know, like kaua e like patu i tō hoa, me te aki ngā poi.
Awesome.
Da 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 da.
Great. So is there any further?
Cop.
Cop.
Go to.
Okay, tēnā koe.